Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to This Week in Adoption. I just want to start with saying parenting is very difficult. It just is. And for as much as we all want to be parents, just know it's also really difficult. You don't know the right things to say. You don't know the right things to do. And when you do think you have the right things to say and the right things to do, your child thinks it's awful. I just pray that one day, one day, he will know that I did good by him. I just pray I am. Anyways, I hope everybody's doing great this morning. And if you have never seen me live or joined my weekly morning This Week in Adoption, I am Rebecca Greenspan, the founder and CEO of RG Adoption Consulting. And I come on live every week to talk about what I've been up to in the world of adoption, what I've seen from my families, what's been going on, and I report it to you. I keep it real. I keep it raw. If you have questions, please submit them. In fact, if you submit your questions, they will be answered live on my upcoming podcasts called the Adoption Roadmap Podcast. It will be airing soon at a theater near you. So tune in. This week in our community, somebody said, we are looking for some advice on whether we should try to refinance our current adoption loan. We use Lightstream. Lightstream, if you'd like to sponsor, feel free. And our current rate is like 15%. We thought this was high because we both have excellent credit scores, but I know other factors go into it. Has anyone refinanced their loan or have recommendations on where we should try? Thank you. And there were definitely some comments. So I want to read them to you in case you too are looking to get a loan or refinance a loan. One person said, we recently used American Christian Credit Union. Their April was 9.490. However, you do need to mark a religion or religious organization you belong to from their list. My husband and I were raised Catholic, so we marked Catholic, even though we're not associated with a specific church today. Somebody else said, we've refinanced a mortgage, but that's not the same thing. We didn't do an adoption loan, just a home equity line of credit. Somebody said maybe a credit union. And another person said, reach out to your current banks, including credit card issuers like American Express. The purpose of the loan doesn't matter. It's an unsecured personal loan, so your rate will depend upon your income, credit rating, other debts, etc. I would say it's worth trying because 15% is awfully high, and I would think loans closer to 10% should be available. So I hope that helps some of you. And if you have a question you'd like me to get answers to, please submit them. I will get some answers from my community, both client community, past clients, as well as professional community, and share them with you. Speaking of financing adoption, I just wanted to shout out to one of our affiliates and partners, Your Adoption Finance Coach. We know how difficult financing adoption can be. The cost of adoption continues to rise. I hope that it will level out in the near coming years. But right now, I have seen situations range anywhere from 35,000. That's very, very rare. So don't get your hopes up, all the way to 78,000. That's very, very rare. So don't freak out. I'd say, though, that the majority is between 50 and 60, give or take on either end, which is really high. So many people need grants, need loans, need financial expertise to help look at what you have and what you can be doing. And that's where our partners at Your Adoption Finance Coach come in, where our clients have the opportunity to match one-on-one with an adoption finance coach to not only look at where your financials are today, where things need to be moved, where money needs to be moved from like one account to another, some advice on where you can take money out of various accounts that you may have without penalty, and some ideas about how you might be able to get a loan, a credit, a line of credit, fundraising ideas, etc. So while, I've heard people say, don't let finances get in the way. And that's a hard thing to say. I don't know if I'd go as far as that, because adoption is expensive and you do have to come up with the money, and nobody is going to finance the entire thing for you. Probably not even half. And if you have a good majority, it is worth starting and looking at what the most strategic way for you to start would be. And we'll talk about that in a second, while researching and working with a financial coach, researching grants and loans. Grant programs like Gift of Adoption Fund, Gift of Adoption Fund, who's another partner and affiliate of ours, is a huge grant organization. Helpusadopt.org is another big one that I have been involved with over the years. Those grant organizations typically like to see that you are already matched before they will commit to giving you a grant or loan. And I'm pretty sure all of them, if not most of them, will be sending that grant money directly to the agency to cover some of the costs of the adoption. So the adoption has to be going through in order for you to get that grant. Now, I have also heard, and I'm not an adoption tax credit expert, although you should if you are thinking about starting adoption, or if you have just adopted and never heard anything about the adoption tax credit, please go Google a top adoption tax credit and whatever year you are, whatever tax year you are in, to learn more about it, because there's a good chunk of money there that may help you post adoption. I lost my train of thought for a minute, but what I was going to say is, I believe that if you have experienced a fall through with a substantial financial loss, that you can utilize the tax credit in some way toward that loss. You can only use the adoption tax credit once a year. And I don't know if there's a cap, like if you're adopting multiple times a year. Again, I'm not a tax expert, but I know people who are. And in fact, we'll be bringing them onto the podcast in the very near future to be talking about all of this and diving more into finances. I know it's not so exciting to always talk about money and adoption, but money is a huge factor in so many ways. People wonder why there's so much money associated with birth mother expenses or expectant mother expenses. And there's different laws in different states that dictate how much you can spend. Some have a max and you cannot go over it. Some have a max and you can go to court and petition for more. And usually it's granted. Some people will ask, well, why do I need to pay that? And I would retort back to you, that sounds like a very legal term. I'm not even sure if I used it right. But I would say back to you, well, don't you want to make sure that if this is your baby that this woman is carrying, that she is well taken care of, that she has food to eat, that she can make it to her doctor's appointment, that she has a place to live, that she has clothes to wear, and on and on and on. So, of course, you want to support your expectant mama. And knowing all along that even if you should support her financially, that is an agreement you are stepping into, knowing full well that she has every right to parent her child in the end. So keep that in mind. This one's going to be short and sweet. I just came back from the Quad A conference, that is the American Academy of Adoption Attorneys, which also includes attorneys who do um, reproductive technologies law and surrogacy law. I unfortunately am not a member because you have to be an attorney that has done X amount of these cases to get that certification of Quad A, but I was a sponsor. RG Adoption Consulting was a sponsor. And it is one of my favorite conferences to go to as a sponsor because you get recognized as a sponsor and they actually thank you, which is really nice. But I was there. I met a ton of not only attorneys that we work with, that we hopefully will be working with in the past. And when I say we, our families, and also the other sponsors are, a lot of them are partners of ours already, like the ones I mentioned, and others will become podcast guests and partners. Our whole, we place a huge value on being a resource to all of our families, however they need, whether that's financial planning and getting loans and grants and financial help, whether that's helping to get life insurance after you adopt, because that is something you need. These are things nobody told me about, right? That I need a will to have in place. God forbid something happens to me. What's going to happen to my baby? So these are all things that we prepare our families for, and we are a resource for our families, including attorneys wherever and however they might need an attorney throughout the process. And everybody needs an attorney in the adoption process, at least to finalize. So it's always great to be there live, to be able to hug our current partners and to build on those partnerships and hopefully welcome more into our fold. So it was lovely to be there, and I hope to be at many other conferences throughout the year. Again, if you have questions about the adoption process, post-adoption, anything that we can be a resource to you for, or that we can simply give you some advice or support along the way, please submit those to support@rgadoptionconsulting.com, or just find me on social anywhere and message me. We will get those answered for you live right here. And I hope that you will tune in next week for This Week in Adoption. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.